Hey guys, Justin from Qore Performance here with an instruction video for our all-new ICEFLASK cooling, heating, hydration water bottle. ICEFLASK, a 500 milliliter water bottle, is in the exact same shape and geometry as a PRC 152 embedder radio. In this video, we've got a lot to cover. You can see all of those topics here. Now, the 1911 owners and NRA members of our audience are going to go ahead and try and click on those. You can't click on those. So go ahead and click on the links below, and it'll take you exactly to the chapter or the section of the video that you want that's relevant for you. If, however, you're here for the house experience, then let's get started. So why does ICEFLASK exist? Well, ICEFLASK is originally the brainchild of Felix from Red Beard Tactical. Felix saw an opportunity to create the most ergonomic and most efficient way to carry water since ice plate. In the canteen, which most everybody is issued, Felix saw something that was inefficient and didn't work with the body particularly well. Simultaneously, he also thought about the most prolific pouch across NATO that is not built for magazines, that of the PRC 152 embedder. Embedder pouches are issued everywhere, but not everybody uses them, and definitely not everybody uses them all the time. So Felix saw an opportunity to utilize those pouches for something far more useful that everybody has to carry all the time, that being water. So when you combine that water with the pouch, okay, you get the ICEFLASK. ICEFLASK is a water bottle, 500 milliliters, shaped in the form factor of a PRC 152 embedder radio. This allows you to put it basically anywhere you would put a radio. For that, if you don't want to or don't have access to a PRC 152 embedder pouch of some kind, issued or otherwise, we created a whole suite of ICEFLASK holsters. This here is the ICEFLASK wing holster. And as the name implies, it allows you to put the ICEFLASK in various negative space places on your body, in your kit, front wings, front flanks, danglers, rear dangler, rear flanks, whatever you want. We'll get into all that later. Very, very efficient, takes up that negative space, gives you cooling, heating, and hydration. So that's a little bit about why. Those are the Cliff's Notes. If you want the deep dive, go ahead and click the link below, and you can take that journey in a video that we shot with Felix where he shares the entire backstory of how ICEFLASK was born. So now that we know why ICEFLASK exists, how does it work? Well, it's 500 milliliters or 16.9 fluid ounces in this form factor here. That translates to 23 watts of conductive cooling power for hot environments, 17 watts of conductive heating power for cold environments. And at the end of both of those conductive thermoregulation cycles, you get 16.9 fluid ounces or 500 milliliters of drinkable water, great for hydration in the field to enhance performance and survivability. Hey guys, a quick note on filling. So if you are going to use ICEFLASK for conductive cooling and hydration, and you're going to want to freeze it, then we need to first take a quick trip down memory lane to 8th grade science class, and remember that water, when it freezes, it expands 8%, phase changing from liquid to solid. To accommodate that, we have to make sure that we fill ICEFLASK to just below the fill line here. Okay, what that's going to do is it's going to leave just enough of an air gap for the expanding ice to push the air out the top. And then when you put ICEFLASK in the freezer, you're going to want to put it right side up like this, and then you're going to want to screw the cap on and then back it out just a bit, okay, to make sure that the air can escape out the top of the cap so that this will prevent ICEFLASK from bulging here. So let's talk about the design and the features of the ICEFLASK. This is super exciting, super cool. So ICEFLASK, as you can see, as we've mentioned before, is in the shape and the form factor of a PRC 152 embedder. Starting from the top, the cap and thread standard is the exact same as ice plate curve. That's the 28410 thread standard, which is exactly the same thing that you will find on Coca-Cola products pretty much worldwide. So you can see that we have a Coca-Cola cap on here right now, and you can interchange if you find yourself in a pinch. We did this by design. Why did we pick Coca-Cola? Well, Coca-Cola basically is the most prolific bottled beverage company on planet Earth. Nobody sells more bottles of beverages than Coca-Cola, which makes this cap the most prolific cap on Earth. That means it's easy to find replacements pretty much anywhere in the world, deployed, CONUS, doesn't matter. And that makes it very easy to support, very field expedient. Continuing down the ICEFLASK, you'll see that we have this neat body curvature right here. So this curve is designed to make it very ergonomic and comfortable, maximizing surface area contact to take full advantage of the conductive thermoregulation. Again, that's 23 watts of cooling, 17 watts of heating. On the back, where we have the body curve, we also have a fill line. This 500 milliliter, 16.9 fluid ounce fill line. Continuing down the bottle, you'll see that we have protruding Q-Hex logos on the front and a recessed Q-Hex logo on the back. The reason those are there is because the bottles will stack together and nest. That's very cool for super efficient, high density cube storage capacity. Very cool. Continuing down the bottle, we have these detents, okay? And these detents line up with male protrusions on the inside of the ice flask holster insert. And when these things go together, they create what we call the friction locking system. And what that does is it allows the ice flask to lock inside of the holster mechanism, and it keeps it secure and in place. Now, for those of you super cool guys that are going to be jumping out of airplanes and helicopters and that kind of thing, and you need a jump capable or jump ready solution, our holsters also have tons of lashing points on them, which we'll get into later, so that you can create additional mechanical retention. Going down the bottle, you'll see that we have labels on both sides, ICEFLASK and Qore Performance. And then we have this cool little eyelet down here so that you can take cordage, 550, shot cord, boot laces, whatever you want, and you can create these pull loops right here. These things are super handy so that you can either pull ICEFLASK out from the front, or if you're running a rear flank position, that makes it very easy to just slide your thumb into the pull loop and remove ICEFLASK very quickly. ICEFLASK is also made out of 100% FDA certified food grade HDPE, that stands for high density polyethylene. That is exactly the same material that we use to make IcePlate Curve and IcePlate Classic before that. Every single ICEFLASK, like its IcePlate Curve and IcePlate Classic brethren, are 100% made in USA. These things are also exceptionally durable. We've run over ICEFLASKs with very heavy trucks, and there's not a single change that happens to the ICEFLASK body, no compromises to the structural integrity whatsoever. It's really quite awesome. So you can trust ICEFLASK with that hard sell confidence that you have come to expect from IcePlate Curve. That pretty much does it for materials, durability, design, etc. We're going to jump right into the next section, so let's get started. So now that we know the why and the design and features of ICEFLASK, let's talk about mounting and deployment. How do you wear ICEFLASK? How do you use this thing? Well, pretty simple actually. If you don't have or don't want to use a standard or an issued 152 embedder pouch, we made a suite of 4 different ICEFLASK holsters, starting with this one. This is the ICEFLASK wing holster. As the name implies, it mounts on your plate carrier or your chest rig just like a normal radio wing. This tab here is the wing, and it is composed of Velcro loop on the front and Velcro hook on the back. We also have this SPC tubes adapter pass-through, very handy. And then on the holster itself, we have a number of lashing points so that you can attach additional mechanical retention. Inside of the holster fabric, or the laminate, is the holster insert. And the holster insert is what has the male protrusions that we covered earlier that interface with the female indentations on the ICEFLASK water bottle to create what we call the friction locking system. Below, you can also see that we have a flared magwell, and the way that you index the ICEFLASK holster insert is you can see that we have a Q-Hex logo on the bottom here, as well as the flared magwell. And the flared magwell is designed to make it super easy, just like it does with your sidearm or your rifle, to index the ICEFLASK for reinsertion and reholstering. It's worth noting that you can put the ICEFLASK wing holster just about anywhere you want. We'll show that on screen here. Next, we have the ICEFLASK MOLLE holster. And so this is the same functionality as the ICEFLASK wing holster, but without this Velcro Tigris wing. I don't think anybody needs me to explain MOLLE, but just in case, for those of you that are new, we have half space MOLLE on the front, half space MOLLE on the back, multiple lashing points on the side, left and right, as well as the same lashing points on the top and the bottom that you saw on the ICEFLASK wing holster. The ICEFLASK insert also goes in the ICEFLASK MOLLE holster, same exact functionality. Next up, we have the ICEFLASK Sling holster. This thing is super cool. It's much more of an EDC outdoor travel option for carrying ICEFLASK. And just like the MOLLE holster and the wing holster, the ICEFLASK Sling holster takes the ICEFLASK insert, which is 3-sided. You'll note the 3 sides is so that the ICEFLASK can provide that conductive thermoregulation contact with your body. And what we've done with the ICEFLASK sling holster is we've used these lashing points on the side, okay, to create a retention mechanism for a sling with a standard 1-inch side release buckle for easy EDC travel outdoor carry. Now, for those of you who don't have access to, or for whatever reason would prefer to just use a 152 embedder pouch, no problem. You'll see that our ICEFLASK fits easily inside of the Velocity Systems, Blue Force gear, Shaw Concepts, DefMech. Basically anybody who makes a radio pouch for a PRC 152 embedder makes a pouch that can carry an ICEFLASK. It really is that simple. How do you use these things? Well, we've seen a little bit of confusion, and it's pretty simple actually. So this wing holster works just like any other radio wing that you've seen on the market, except that we have this injection molded insert here, which, as noted earlier in the video, also has these male protrusions inside here that are part of the friction locking system. You have to orient this injection molded insert correctly to use it with the ICEFLASK wing holster. And the way that you do that is you take this flared magwell at the bottom, you orient it with this Q-Hex logo. That has to be right side up. The flared magwell faces the ground or the bottom. And then you insert the injection molded piece into the sleeve, just like this. Very, very easy. You want to make sure that your orientation is always such that the open side of the injection molded insert is facing your body. This is so that you get that conductive thermoregulation that is present with ICEFLASK. How does this work? This is how you want it, just like that, right up against your body and inside the wing holster. The MOLLE holster works identically, it just doesn't have the Velcro wing. There's one little trick that you're gonna have to remember with the MOLLE holster, in that the MOLLE holster has to be mounted to the cummerbund or whatever other MOLLE surface you want to mount it to before you put the injection molded insert inside. So the way that you do that is you can use one wrap that's included, and then you weave that through whatever MOLLE base that you're using, whatever MOLLE platform. And then once the MOLLE holster is MOLLEd onto its base platform, then you're going to take your injection molded insert, again indexing the flared magwell towards the bottom, then squeeze the top so that you can get it inside the sleeve, just like this. Slide it in and you'll be indexed, good to go. And then you can get an assembly that will look like that on the inside, with the ICEFLASK again exposed with the curved side and the open part of the injection molded insert toward your body. Okay, so now that we've learned all about ICEFLASK as an individual water bottle, let's talk about ICEFLASK as part of a system. This is one of its coolest features and is totally unique to ICEFLASK. So what do we mean by a system? Well, if you recall earlier in the video, we covered that ICEFLASK has these really unique geometry features on the front and rear of the bottle, similar to IcePlate. And those features are the protruding Q-Hex logo on the front and the recessed or embossed Q-Hex logo on the back. Well, that's not that big of a deal, Justin. What does that mean? What it means is that you get this. ICEFLASK is able to stack and nest super efficiently. What does that mean? It means that you get a packing density advantage using ICEFLASK over traditional cylindrical bottles that have tapered shoulders and conical tops. That means that you can pack more water in the same space. This is ideal for coolers, pallets, or really any type of deployable packing medium where you need to maximize your storage density. That's also why we offer ICEFLASK in multi-packs, 7 packs or 18 packs if you're looking at the product page on the website. When you want to use ICEFLASK as a system, you want to buy one of these multi-packs. So what you do is you use ICEFLASK and you fill all of them up, okay, and then you put them in your freezer or and freeze them overnight, and then you take them out and you go ahead and you put them in your Yeti or your Pelican or your Arctic or whatever cooler you're using, and you use them to replace that sacrificial bag of ice that costs you between 10 and 20 bucks every time you use your high-end cooler. So the ice flasks will then take the heat, the stored heat, out of the coolers the way that the normal sacrificial bag of ice does, but this time it won't cost you 10 or 20 bucks every use. You'll make your money back in just a matter of weeks or months, depending on how frequently you use your cooler. When that sacrificial melting or heat absorption is done, you will then have chilled bottled water that packs super dense inside your premium cooler, making that outdoor adventure, that tailgate party, or that backyard barbecue that much more fun, that much more efficient, and that much easier to plan and pull off. All right, final notes and housekeeping items for this video and for ICEFLASK writ large. ICEFLASK comes in two colors, Ranger Green, Frost. ICEFLASK's dimensions are very simple. 10 inches tall, 3 inches wide, 2 inches deep. Can ICEFLASK be used with your ice cap? No. What is an ice cap, for those of you who are wondering? An ice cap is this piece right here, which is the cap that allows you to connect a Source 90 drink tube to an ice plate curve so you can drink out of it. The reason that ICEFLASK cannot be used with an ice cap is because it does not have a one-way valve like ice plate curve does here. Another question we get all the time, can I put one of these in one of these? Well, kind of. Will it fit? Yeah, sure. The dimensions are the same as a 152, as we've mentioned. So yes, it will fit. And yes, you could use cordage to create your own retention on the top and the bottom, but it's really not great. Don't do this. Just go get a dedicated embedder radio pouch from any of the gazillion manufacturers out there who make a really good radio pouch. We've mentioned some of them earlier in this video. So we've also been getting some questions about a tether. Does ICEFLASK have a tethered cap? And the answer is no. The reason is because we designed ICEFLASK with this super simple, nearly universal 28-410 thread standard, which, as we mentioned earlier, is also used on pretty much every Coca-Cola and Dasani bottled beverage product on planet Earth, making it pretty much the easiest to support and most prolific cap standard on the planet. So if you lose your cap, you can replace it with pretty much any Coca-Cola or Dasani bottled beverage product cap that you'd find pretty much anywhere in the world. That's going to do it for our ICEFLASK instructional video, guys. We hope it was super helpful. If you still have any questions, drop them in the comments below. We'll be sure to get back to you guys, but you also know that you can contact us on the contact page on our website. Links to that are below as well. And of course, now that you guys know why ICEFLASK was born, how it can be used, all the different design features, and the ways that it can be helpful and useful for military, law enforcement, prepared citizens, outdoor enthusiasts, and safety professionals alike, we want to know, how are you guys planning on running your ICEFLASK? Let us know in the comments below, and until next time, stay frosty.